So I thought it'd be cool to talk about what actually goes into a single session or what goes into figuring out how to be able to help people because I'm sure all physical therapists deal with this, but a really common thing that I get, especially with people that I know more in my personal life, is they want to ask it in their mind like a quick question to get your opinion, to get this like quick solution to their problem. And it's almost an ongoing joke that anytime somebody asks me like, how do I fix this or how do I get this better? I always need to respond with like I don't know, or like that's not enough information, or my job's not that simple. And most people reflect on that and think that that's a way of basically saying like I'm not willing to help them for free, or you're going to have to pay for that, because obviously everybody wants to um kind of deflect responsibility. But basically, the reason why it's not possible to have an explanation for somebody without really having any information is because that would make the assumption that there is a one size fits all approach. And people say the right things and they claim that they understand, oh, everybody isn't the same or everybody's injury isn't the same, but they don't really know what those words mean if they're still expecting you to be able to provide that type of explanation. So, this is what goes into at least how I do things around here. I can't speak to anyone else. If I met a new patient, before ever even deciding to work together, we do like a 30-minute consultation here, right? I know not every place necessarily does a consultation separate from an evaluation, but that's how we do things here. So people come in before they ever even commit to working with us. We sit down for 30 minutes, and that's really where we take our extensive history. So I allow someone to kind of give me everything that they find relevant about the history of the issue that they're coming in with. But then as I'm listening to their story, I'm starting to connect some dots, but I'm still, and I even voice this to them, I'm still not trying to make any type of assumptions based off of this story alone, but it's going to point me in a direction to ask a bunch of follow-up questions. And I don't have this list of questions that I'm going to ask everybody, because what they say is going to dictate what I find to be somewhat relevant, to try to uncover just like what their actual history has been up to this point. Not just questions about if they're coming in with knee pain, not just questions about their knee or questions about the mechanism of their injury. Those are going to be part of the questioning, but I want to get an understanding of just how they've moved throughout their lifespan. I want to understand different parts of their body, different joints, past injuries, surgical history, things like that, because it's all going to provide me information as to how their body has attempted to organize to complete certain tasks. It does not mean that everything is always relevant to their immediate pain, right? We're not trying to say, oh, because you had a root canal, that's the reason why you have plantar fasciitis, right? We're not trying to make direct correlations between things. We're just trying to understand all of the things that have happened over a lifespan so that we can tease out the things that we think are relevant. So that's just the history itself, which we give at least 30 minutes into, but then obviously there's times of spending weeks and months with people. We're constantly talking and learning even more about their history, even things that they didn't necessarily find relevant. So that's a bare minimum to even have an idea of where to start. But even then, during our consultation, we tell people, we can speak in general terms right now, but we still don't fully know how to treat you, because we're not treating your symptoms, we're not treating your diagnosis. And that's still even true even if you had a surgery, though obviously there's going to be a period of kind of overlap where there's going to be like a priority early on. But it still gives us like very valuable information that we are going to use in conjunction with some of our more objective things. Okay, so now someone comes in for their actual evaluation. And again, it does not matter what their symptom or injury is. We want to get objective measures about how their body's moving. So we're looking at both sides of the body, upper body, lower body. We're looking at shoulders, hips, knees, feet. If it's relevant, we're going to look at the neck. We're going to look at the jaw, elbows, hands, so on and so forth, right? We're looking at everything regardless of the injury that somebody is coming in with, because now we're trying to understand if there's limitations, where are their limitations? If there's differences side to side, which is obviously super common, what are those limitations? And then we want to try to reverse engineer that and basically say, based off of the presentation of how they're coming in today, what had to happen in order for them to present this way? Now, based off of this presentation, what does this mean about how they have to organize their movement in order to complete a task. And that task is going to be very context specific. So if you have a baseball player, it's like, great, what do they have to do in order to be able to get their arm into a throwing slot in order for them to be able to turn to execute the movements they need to in their sport? If you're talking about a runner, right, what do they need to do? Be able to leap from one leg to the other repeatedly for the distance, so on and so forth, right? So we can reverse engineer kind of the end task of what somebody is asking their body to do. But before we even jump into the higher level things, we want that to make sure that they're able to move like a normal functioning human being, which we obviously know the stress is responsible in order to be able to walk, sit, stand, exercise, so on and so forth. So we're trying to get our objective measures. And I always tell people, we're not trying to paint a picture. We're not trying to say that this is a problem. We're just trying to get an understanding of how this person is forced to move through space. We already know that they're dealing with pain or an injury. That's why they're coming to us. We're not trying to predict pain. We're trying to uncover just how someone's moving, and how they're able to move is going to impact where stress is applied to their body or how they're absorbing stress. And then that could play a role with enough rep and volume, or, the right amount of impact that could play a role in then the symptom that they're explaining. So when I'm going through my objective tests, I can't sit back and look at that and say, this means that you have knee pain. We know that you have pain because you came in and told me you have knee pain. But what I can do is look at our information and have an understanding of just how you're able to move your body, and then I can then basically decipher, what does this mean about how that knee is able to move and how we're able to actually produce force and absorb stress over time. Now, the actual underlying culprit, at least within a movement lens, almost never is at the source or the site of pain. Now, 10 people can come into me with knee pain, and it could be for 7 or 8 different reasons. And again, there could be overlap, right? There could be things that each one of those people do that are similar, but what is impacting their ability to move, or lack thereof, or their ability to express the qualities that then are leading to some of these like compensatory movements, that can be coming from any number of different places. When we want to treat something like a one-size-fits-all approach, there's going to be a percent of people that get better because you are going to guess correct on some people. But then there's going to be a large percent of people that don't get better. And there has to be a deeper understanding of, why do the things that we do work, and why are the things that aren't working, why do those things not work? And having a little bit more attention to detail to understand kind of just how the entire body interacts with one another, and how there's going to be multiple reasons or multiple influences on how one particular the body is able to move, is absolutely essential in order to actually make some of these long-term changes. When you think that your only goal is decreasing pain, then you're going to attribute a lot of things to being successful, right? You can throw a hot pack on something, you could throw ice on something, and pain can decrease. But did that do anything to actually positively influence why that pain was occurring in the first place? And the same comes true with some of these strategies in physical therapy. I don't really care what rationale you want to use for certain exercises. Pain alone is not necessarily a reliable measure to say, am I making long-term valuable changes? It's a necessary first step. Obviously, that's everybody's first step. But we really need to understand the body as a whole, regardless of whether we're looking for short-term or long-term solutions. So when somebody is asking me, hey, how do I fix my knee pain? There's a reason why there's not a quick elevator pitch of, hey, just do more of this and you're going to get better, right? This isn't just like deflecting to, well, come in for a session and then I'll be willing to have this conversation. It's the fact that we would literally need to have an hour-and-a-half conversation on top of me seeing you move and bringing you through my assessment process for me to have any idea of how to answer that question for you. And I'm very honest in saying this, I think anybody who otherwise tells you differently is either lying to you or is so dangerous that they don't realize that they're wrong, regardless of if they guessed right. So hopefully this provides a little bit of clarity. There's a lot that goes into every single session, not just the first session that we meet people, right? Every single session, we're basically trying to evaluate where somebody is. How well did they respond to the last session that we had? How well, if they made change, how well did they maintain changes between sessions? Because if they didn't, that gives us information. It doesn't always mean one thing, right? If I devise the plan based off of somebody's assessment, I want to be able to prove that someone has the potential for change, which means that I need to be tracking something, and we can all have a different perspective as to what we're actually tracking, but I need to be able to track something to say, I did this with this intention and that created this result, and I need to track it reliably. Then I need to basically devise this plan, which we just kind of call physical therapy homework, that hopefully can either help maintain or continue to progress those positive changes that we saw within the session. Now, the time between session A and session B provides us even more information. So we came up with this plan, we saw it can create change, now we create this homework assignment. Does that allow us to maintain these changes between day 1 and day 2? Whatever happens provides a lot of valuable information. If we maintain those changes, great. We clearly were able to positively influence something enough that the homework was able to maintain it. And I realize there's an infinite number of other variables that we have to account for. But if we saw those changes day 1, we gave them the homework, and they come back and they say, yeah, I felt great leaving, but by, 2 days later, like that pain was back. Okay, we're not happy with that, but we still prove that we're capable of creating change. So now we have to understand what happened between that and the point where the pain came back, that something didn't behave the way that we want. Could it be that the homework we came up with was either not the right homework? Absolutely possible. Could it be the fact that the homework wasn't performed correctly? Sure, it's possible, especially after day 1, regardless of how well you coach people. Like, people aren't going to be experts in a single day. Could it be the fact that the homework was correct, they performed the homework perfectly, but then there is something else interfering, as we say, that is getting in the way of being able to maintain those changes? Possibly. But the only way we know is to ask the right questions and be able to interpret it the right way, so that we're not just constantly repeating the same process over and over and just wondering why we're not seeing change, right? If the plan is perfect, whatever that means, but we're not realizing that there is this large interference between sessions that's going to constantly be causing this irritation, then we might change a plan when the plan wasn't the problem in the first place. We just need to figure out how to eliminate that interference. So there's so much nuance that goes into understanding how to actually help people. There's no such thing as just these 4 magic exercises to help someone with knee pain. It's not that simple. So if you don't give it this level of appreciation, which in my opinion, a large majority of rehab professionals do not. This is part of the reason why people are constantly going through this endless cycle of pain, doctor's appointments, injections, medications, sometimes surgeries, which, they're at times are necessary, other times aren't, because there's really no rhyme or reason behind what they do and how to track if what they're doing is actually effective. We're still stuck in this mindset that there is a way to treat hips, a way to treat knees, a way to treat foot and ankle. Regardless of what symptom you come in with, the process is going to look the same in the sense of how we're going to decipher it. It does not mean that everyone is going to blanketly be given the same collection of exercises, or that the same collection of exercises are going to create the same change for every person. So, hope that provides a little bit of context. Again, like these videos that I'm going to start making for you guys, I'm really with the intent on being able to answer some of the really common questions that I get for people, but be able to provide a little bit more context and spend a little bit more time answering these things that just can't fit on a 30 to 60 second clip. So if you guys like these things, please let me know, either comment below or feel free to DM me directly. Definitely going to continue to churn out more videos like this, but if there's anything specific you want me to talk about, just let me know and I'd be happy to make a video for you. So I will see you guys next time.